Welcome back to the Daggerheart DM Pocket Guides, a series here to help you craft the most epic Daggerheart experiences possible. I'm AK and you're in the Pocket Dimension, a place where we love to talk nerdy about Daggerheart and other tabletop role-playing games. So far in this series, we've gotten up close and personal with the duality dice and unveiled the secrets of adversaries and environments, learning how to populate your world with challenging foes and dynamic landscapes. Now you've got the tools for individual encounters, but how do you string them all together into a thrilling, coherent session? That is our hot topic today. We're diving into building sessions and pacing play, because running a session smoothly, from setting scenes to managing transitions and keeping the energy high, is where the real magic happens. Daggerheart, with its fiction-first narration and free-flowing combat, really leans into GMs understanding how to keep things moving. So, number 1, opening a session with narrative momentum, the grand entrance. Let's kick things off with a bang. How do you start your session to immediately hook your players and propel them into the adventure? First, you, the DM, are responsible for laying out a scene. And this isn't just dry exposition. It's your chance to paint a vivid picture with words. Describe the surroundings, any lurking dangers, intriguing NPCs, or important elements the PCs would notice immediately. Try thinking with all of your senses. Don't just say, you're in a cave. Describe the damp, earthy smell that fills the air, the drip, drip, drip of unseen water echoing in the darkness, the cold, slick feel of the stone beneath their fingertips. Maybe there's even a faint metallic taste on their tongue, hinting at something unnatural. What's unique or unexpected about this place? Does it have strangely smooth iridescent walls or carvings that seem to writhe in the torchlight? Once you've set the stage, it's time to engage your players. Remember our GM principle: ask questions, incorporate the answers. This immediately pulls them into the narrative. Instead of just waiting for them to declare an action, ask guiding questions. As some examples, as you enter the haunted crypt, what's the first detail that catches your eye, and why does it send a shiver down your spine? The local townsfolk scatter, fear in their eyes. What is one unsettling thing that they shout as they flee that clues you that you are in danger? Or how about you find yourself on a treacherous cliffside ascent? What's the biggest challenge you immediately perceive, and how does your character plan to tackle it? Their answers become canon. You incorporate those details, making the world a collaborative creation. This isn't just about fun, it's a core design philosophy of Daggerheart that every participant is a storyteller. Number 2, establishing stakes and spotlighting PCs. Whose moment is it anyway? Every role in Daggerheart should feel important, not just a binary pass or fail. This means clearly establishing the stakes before an action roll. You, the Dagger Master, determine the difficulty for a roll and can openly or privately set the stakes, making potential consequences clear to the players before they even touch their dice. For instance, if a player wants to disarm a trap, don't just say roll finesse, instead set the scene. Okay, you're trying to disarm this ancient, rusted pressure plate. If you succeed, you'll open the path forward without a hitch. But if you fail, the mechanism might snap, triggering a localized cave-in, potentially separating you from the rest of the party and attracting unwanted attention from below. What do? This immediately raises the tension and gives their choices weight. And then there's the spotlight. Daggerheart doesn't use rigid initiative or rounds in combat, which means the spotlight moves organically. One moment it's on the rogue trying to pick that lock, the next it's on the head guard shouting orders. When a PC takes a significant action or rolls their dice, they grab the spotlight. But if a player rolls with fear or fails an action roll, the spotlight often shifts back to you to make a GM move or escalate the scene. This is your chance to introduce complications, have an adversary act, or shift the environment, keeping everyone on their toes. Conversely, players should be fans of each other's characters. Encourage them to spotlight their friends by asking for help, prompting them to share, or setting them up for their own heroic moments. As a GM, you can help balance the spotlight, especially for quieter players, by directly inviting their character to act or asking how they feel about the unfolding events. Use an action tracker or just draw circles on a piece of paper for each PC so you can visually keep track of who's had recent turns and then look to engage who hasn't. Number 2, scene transitions, from quiet moments to cinematic clashes. One of the coolest things about Daggerheart's narrative-first approach is how fluidly you can move between different types of scenes. No rigid rounds or initiative means you can jump straight into the action or seamlessly transition to downtime. Now, for travel in downtime, you can cut to the action. If a long journey or period of rest won't lead to interesting challenges, don't slog through every moment. Instead, describe a montage.
We're gonna need a montage. Ooh, it takes a montage.
You spend 2 arduous days traveling through the Whispering Woods, and by the time you arrive at the outskirts of the city, the sun is setting, and you have all managed to patch up your minor injuries, clear all hit point, stress, and armor slots. What do you do as you approach the city gates? This gets to the good stuff faster. And downtime isn't just about resource recovery. It's a vital space for emotional scenes and character development. Encourage players to frame these quiet moments. They can tend to wounds, clear stress, or prepare for the next day, but also use this as an opportunity to have profound conversations, share personal truths, or simply bond around the campfire. Remember, the world doesn't stop during downtime. You, the GM, still gain a fear, and long rests can advance long-term countdowns, making players weigh their need to rest against brewing threats. Social interactions are also driven narratively. Think of a social encounter as a battle of wits driven by NPC motives. If the party is trying to convince a petty noble, consider their motive. Are they looking for glory, resources, or just trying to abuse their power? Their motivations should guide the reactions, creating dynamic interactions. You can even use an adversary's stress slots to track an extended social conflict, with successful social actions forcing them to mark a stress. Of course, then there's combat. Daggerheart battles are freeform, playing out moment to moment. They're not just about reducing hit points, they serve a narrative function. Why is this fight happening? Is it a consequence of a failed stealth roll, or the culmination of a character's personal arc? By grounding combat in the story, every hit feels meaningful. You can use fear to dynamically inject challenges, spotlighting additional adversaries, or unleashing powerful fear features from your enemies or environment. This keeps the fighting tense and exciting, making players feel like they're truly on their toes as they turn the tide of battle. Number 4, tracking narrative threads without over-prepping, the art of the improvised epic. Here is a huge nugget of wisdom for Dagger Masters. Daggerheart excels when you play to find out what happens. This means that the overarching plot emerges collaboratively at the table rather than being rigidly pre-planned. You're not scripting a novel, you're facilitating a shared story. The game actively advises against overplanning by scripting entire scenes. Instead, focus your preparation on creating interesting situations for the characters to explore. Define your adversary's motives, give environments impulses, and think about what happens if the PCs succeed or fail, rather than how they'll do it. A fantastic tool for this is thinking in beats. A beat is a moment that shifts the story's trajectory, a revelation, a significant action, an emotional turning point. You can prepare a sequence of major beats for an encounter or session, knowing that the player's choices will determine how you get from one beat to the next, or you might even skip some entirely. For example, you might have a beat where the cult adept performs a ritual that summons minions, followed by a beat where the PCs must choose to either fight the minions or stop the ritual. You don't need to plan every spell or movement, just keep the narrative shifts. This frees you up to improvise and react to your players' brilliant and sometimes chaotic ideas. If the players come up with a clever solution you hadn't anticipated, reframe rather than reject. Find a way to make their approach work. Number 5, using questions and callbacks to keep players engaged, the personal touch. This is where Daggerheart truly shines in making the story theirs. As a GM, continually ask questions and incorporate the answers. This isn't just for the session openings, it's for ongoing dialogue. Ask about their characters' motivations, emotions, history, and then connect the answers to the current mood. Did a player mention that their rogue has a past with a Jagged Knife Bandit syndicate? When they encounter a Jagged Knife lieutenant, ask them, "This lieutenant's insignia, does it remind you of anyone you know from the syndicate? What's the history there?" This makes the narrative profoundly personal. And callbacks are gold. Take thorough notes through character creation, especially on their background questions and connections. These details are the primary scaffolding for your campaign's plot. If a player's character has a threat you asked me to watch for, introduce a subtle sign of that threat in a seemingly unrelated scene. If they have a friendly competition with another PC, create an opportunity for it to unexpectedly flare up. And this also extends to NPCs. Every NPC and adversary should have motives. Why are these minor demons attacking? Are they simply consumed by rage, or were they being coerced by a powerful demon of hubris? Understanding their wants makes their actions feel grounded and consistent. And when an NPC's hidden motive is revealed, it can create a powerful narrative beat. Number 6, how to end on a satisfying beat or a cliffhanger, the perfect hook. Every roll in Daggerheart is designed to progress the narrative. There is no such thing as a roll where nothing happens. Even failure creates interesting complications or consequences, driving the story forward to a new state. This is called failing forward. If a PC fails to pick a lock, the door doesn't just stay shut. Maybe an arcane alarm triggers or they hear footsteps approaching. As the Dagger Master, you control the pace. When a scene feels like it's dragging or the players are going in circles, don't be afraid to cut to the action. End it and transition to a new, more dramatic beat. You can also resolve a mini arc or a challenge. The party defeats the head vampire and secures the relic. The tension resolves, and the players feel a sense of accomplishment. You might ask them as the dust settles, what's the one thing your character does to mark this hard-won victory? For a cliffhanger, you might leave them wanting more. This is where you leverage the GM move to reveal an unwelcome truth, signal an imminent off-screen threat, or introduce an unexpected danger. As you retrieve the orb, you hear a deep, guttural roar echoing from the cavern below. The molten scourge awakens, and the ground begins to tremble. Or you succeed in talking down the guard ever, but just as you exhale, a chilling whisper slithers into your mind, a voice that you have not heard since you fled your home. And it knows your deepest fear. You can't hide from me, Ranger. Not anymore. The goal is always there to create a compelling narrative first experience, where every moment and every role pushes that story forward. The rules are there to serve the story that you want to tell. And that's our take on building and pacing sessions for Daggerheart. We've covered opening with impact, setting stakes, keeping the spotlight dynamic, flowing through scenes, improvising narratives, and crafting those perfect endings that leave everyone buzzing. Remember, Dagger Masters, you're a fan of the characters and a collaborator with your players. Use these tools to craft an experience that is uniquely your own. If you have more questions about Daggerheart mechanics or GM tools, just drop a comment below. We're going to keep covering popular questions in future videos. Until then, bless your Daggerheart, and we'll see you next time.